Welcome to the Local Exchange Podcast, where Northwest Ohio comes to talk. Real people, real conversations, right here in our community. This episode is proudly brought to you by Caliber Custom Clothiers, defining style beyond ordinary. Kenny, thank you so much for joining us and taking the risk on being on a podcast with a couple of Shawnee kids.
Hey, thank you. Happy to be here.
So Kenny, just start out. You're running for township trustee. We want to talk about that, but just tell me a little bit about yourself, about your background.
Born and raised here in Shawnee. Graduated from Shawnee High School in 1998. Attended the Ohio State University.
The Ohio State University.
Very important distinction.
Yeah. And then after that, moved back to Lima. Currently married with 3 kids. And right now I'm a director of sales for a company in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay, gotcha. So you've been Lima through and through for most of you, Shawnee through and through for most of your parts. So Matt and I, we both graduated from Shawnee in 2007. Graduated together. We were in Elmwood, Maplewood High School, the whole 9 yards all the way through. So
awesome.
The community certainly means a lot. When we both graduated, we brought our families back here. My wife went to LCC, so stayed in the community. And Matt, you ventured out a little bit, but that's not important for the context of this conversation.
I'm back, which is what matters.
Absolutely.
So you're a busy guy. You're in sales. You got an impressive resume. What made you decide I want to get into the Shawnee Township Trustee business?
Great question. I served on the Shawnee School Board for 5 years and was off of the school board 4 years ago after the last election. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being part of the community and being part of the decision making that affects our community as a whole. Back 2 years ago, I was asked by several different people in the community if I would run for township trustee at that time, and I said no, I'm not ready yet. I had just started a new position with a company, and the timing was just not right. But that's something I always thought I'd want to do. It's just not right then. And then this election was coming up. Had talked to several more people who had my support. And just some of the things that are happening in our community, I didn't agree with. And I thought, this is a perfect time. I do have the time. I do have the energy. And what's there left to be afraid of? So I put my hat in the ring.
Sure. So you served 5 years on the school board. What are some things you learned along the way in that you think might translate? Obviously, you're dealing with a larger organization. You're new to it. What are some kind of things you learned there that you think might help you out if you end up winning the election?
The biggest thing is, I learned you're not going to make everybody happy.
What?
So that's starting
No
off,
way.
number one thing. But two, which is even more important than that is you have to stick to your principles and your morals. You can't let things, you can't get jaded. You got to keep your mind, and focused on what is important. And at that time, we went through several challenges. My wife's going to laugh, but I'm going to use the word unprecedented. That's a popular buzzword since COVID. But, during that time, I was a sitting president for the school board during COVID, and worked very hard on, making sure that our staff was safe, our students were safe, and ultimately getting our students back into the school. So that goes in not making everybody happy. But, being a school board member, it's making sure that, the focus is on the education and the education of our students. And that's what we, strived for to getting those children back. So that's a big thing that I learned is just keeping focus and in regards to, the township, it's, listening to the public, listening to the people. What do they want? Maybe not always be what I want or the other sitting 2 members of the township would be, but listening to our community and taking action on those things that they spoke about during the town hall that we had. When I go out and meet, community members knocking on a door, passing out flyers, it's just making sure that we keep that in focus at all time.
And that you kind of answered the question I was going to have is like, how do you find out? How do you listen to the community? Obviously, there's people that come to school board, board meetings and things like that. But how do you get a hold of the average person and kind of find out what's going on? Because I think a lot of people just kind of go throughout their day and they may not voice their concerns. They may not be super vocal about that. How do you get in touch with those individual people and kind of get an understanding of the overall community needs?
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things is, once they've seen who you were and on the school board, and I can imagine it's what's going on right now with the current 3 sitting trustees, is when you're in public, people have no problem coming up to you and talking to you. And it's usually not about what great you have done. It's something that's upset them in a community or something that they want fixed. But to that point, I welcome people to always come up to me, always talk to me, always tell me what's going on. I may not have the answer right then, but that's something that we can definitely talk about, speak about. Community members, they can go to the website, to the Shawnee Township website. I know at a certain time they had taken the names off and also their emails. But if elected, we will make sure that doesn't ever happen, regardless of the current situation or the temperature of the community as far as, what's going on. But, reaching out, calling, you can call the township office and ask to speak to a trustee. One of the things that I would like to do is, have a private line or whatever to where it automatically rings into my cell phone. Because, I'm not always going to be here. Sometimes I'll have to travel for work. But I want to be able to get those calls, and if I can't answer it, it'll just go to voicemail, but I'll know to get back to them.
Do you know how big of a commitment this is? Because I had no idea what all it entailed to be a trustee. I'm not sure that even through my research for this, I still have an idea of what it takes to be a trustee. And up until very recently, I did not realize it was not a good paying job, but it was a decent paying job. It's 40-ish thousand, if I'm not mistaken.
So I didn't know exactly how much they were getting paid until we started this whole run, and people were telling me, oh, well, by the way, it includes insurance, it includes this. But my understanding, it's around $25,000, and that's based on the current property values in your area. So, prior to COVID, it was probably around $12,000, $13,000. Well, as we know, the housing market, in Allen County and Shawnee.
As every realtor likes to tell us,
yes.
Now's the time to sell.
Yes. But, we're just catching up with what everybody else was already at. But so when you take into effect that, they were 12 or 13,000 4 years ago or 6 years ago, whatever that was.
Right.
As soon as COVID happened, they did the real estate adjustments. Their salary went up as well. So it's around a 25,000, but then, if you kick in the insurance, whatever that is,
right.
Again, I don't have private insurance, so I don't know what the cost is if I were to go after private insurance. My wife, she works for the school, so I know how much it costs us in premiums. And then I work for that company out of, as I said, automotive aftermarket in Chicago, and I know what my premiums are. So I can't tell you until I get in and know exactly what those figures are. But no, it is something to where it's not about the pay for me.
Right.
It's just, trying to do a little bit of my civic duty and help out where I can. But no, as far as the commitment's concerned, as I said in the town hall, if it's a 4-hour-a-week job or 10 hours a week or something's pressing and, I'm done with all my meetings, I go to the township house at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm there till midnight because things need to get done. Well, that week, things need to get done. It's kind of like a salary position, right?
Right.
The expectations is 50 to 60 hours. It could take you 80 or it could take you 20. It all depends on what's going on at that situation. So, but no, I'm ready for that big commitment. And I think I'm just ready.
Awesome. So, take things a little bit lighter. You've lived in Shawnee your whole life. What are some of your favorite things about living in this community? And, what are some things that you would look forward to fixing? Maybe some of the easier things that you look at and say, this would be an easy improvement. Let's do this, or this would be a great opportunity. So kind of a two-part there.
Yeah. So the one thing I love about Shawnee is the people, right? It's a community. It's the people I went to school with. It's their brothers and sisters, their families, aunt and uncles. But also, it's the Midwest atmosphere, right? Everybody says hi to people. We wave to each other. We go to church together. It's just it's a good community. As my neighbor, she used to say when we were working out at the Y, we're one tribe, right? We work it out. It's just awesome that Shawnee is the Indians, and we are one tribe. We work together, we band together, and we try to see each other through.
Yeah, and I mean, just reflecting on my time that I've lived here, I mean, I think about like the event that happened at Shawnee High School, the Autumn Jubilee or Fall Jubilee, and just some of the things that have happened recently. It's really positive. I mean, nothing worse when I graduated. Every single person, I'm not gonna stay in this hometown. And you probably had the same thing when you graduated. Yep. And it was almost this. If you stayed in Lima, it was almost like a failure. But there's so many things that are happening outside of Shawnee in the city of Lima that are really great in the development downtown. But also, it's amazing to see the township, the Shawnee Township step. Event planning. Been doing some really amazing things. So it's just overall as a resident, I couldn't be happier with the different things I'm able to do with my family. Are there other things and opportunities that kind of go through your mind when you see that?
Yeah. I mean, you have, Friday night lights. We got the Friday football games, which this year the Indians are really doing great. Very proud of that team and the coaching staff and the students that are rallying behind them. But also basketball, soccer, baseball. I mean, our community is ingrained in sports, and being part of that soccer community, we're always there to help each other out. One kid, you got to go pick him up and help him out because the mom or dad is busy doing something. But, we all band together again to help one another. But, even our national night out that's put on by our police department, that's always a great event to look forward to every year.
Absolutely. You mentioned maybe some of the motivations that you had to run. Maybe you weren't happy with a few things that were going on that you noticed. You want to dive into any of the specifics there?
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple. But I mean, if anybody gets on Facebook, social media, I have Kenny Gross for Shawnee Township Trustee website, and from that I've put out I think 5 videos now. But the biggest thing is, the buzzword of transparency and things like that. But, it's communication right along with it. Being transparent with, the finances and what's going on. I understand that they do have to submit a budget, that does have to be approved by the state. So I'm not saying that they were wrong in that. But all the follow-up to that, what's going on during a meeting. Unless you ask for what's going on and do a records request, you won't get the minutes because it's not posted online. All of our townships around our community and throughout the state of Ohio, most of them, after the minutes get approved, they put them online for people to view, or even a different section where they would quote it out and saying, not fully approved, but this is what happened last night. And continuation on, what's going on with the budget, making sure that, hey, where are we tracking? Chief Colai had a really good analysis of calls and police calls and services and not services and DUIs, things like that they've been called to for a month. Sharing that with the community and showing them the updates of what's going on every month or throughout the year and how we are tracking towards our budget. Are we deficit spending because something happened this month, or are we completely in the black and we're at a positive cash flow? So again, it's just keeping the residents aware of what's going on, I think would be a big thing. We talk about certain things in the community that people don't understand or was kind of like, hey, what happened here was, as I'm sure you're aware, 4 years ago, the residents approved and voted for a new fire station. Now, granted, depending on who you talk to, whether or not the levy was correct or the levy wasn't correct, but that was something that the voters asked for. They approved it. If you look now, we have a beautiful administration building. It looks great. It really does stand out. They spent a little over $1.2 million for that building, and they never asked the residents their thoughts. And when you're in charge of monies and things like that, as far as the township trustee, I think they should have asked the residents, hey, I know you approved a fire department, but hey, we're thinking about spending $1.2 million to update our administration building. It's going to be used for dispatch when people come in. It'll be a more secure location. But they didn't ask. They just did it. So I think that is something that I definitely want to change. When we have big projects like this, or, if we put a cap at it, throwing out a number, anything that we're going to spend over $250,000 on or $500,000 on, that's a lot of money. So, making sure that we have a committee of residents that want to be involved, that want to ask questions and be that stakeholder for the others, that never, maybe doesn't want to speak up, but still listens in, get their thoughts on what we want to do or how we want to do certain things. And I think a lot of things I think the township trustees currently wouldn't have that battle right now if they would have just asked, hey, what are your thoughts on this $1.2 million project?
Shawnee seems to be pretty, they seem to be pretty open to the idea of passing and renewing levies. I think the residents of Shawnee all seem to appreciate like the school levy, the police department levy. I think the assessment is they will probably pass, and historically they pass at a pretty high rate. The residents seem to be very for those services. John and I have like not really a written down rule, but we own a business together, and if we have an expense above X amount of dollars, we have a conversation about it. I don't get to just go in and go, hey, I made this $5,000 purchase without like conferring with somebody. It is strange that we entrust three people to make these decisions. And I think the thought is, all right, well, these three guys are going to hear from the township. They're going to talk about it with the residents. I get that they have the final three votes, but it is crazy when you say something like, hey, they get to just decide, I'm going to take $1 million out of our, I don't know what the budget is for the township. I think I've heard the number 16-ish million. I'm going to take 1/16, which I know 1/16 sounds pretty small, but it's not. That's a high percent for a building without any sort of, were there town halls about it? Were there meetings about it? Anything that you're aware of that happened about any of that?
I am unaware of anything. Now, granted, they may have had meetings. I'm sure they brought it up at a township meeting, but unless you go or you ask for the minutes, you're not going to see it. They're not going to be, or I shouldn't say they're not going to be. Up till now, information has not been readily available to the public for certain things. I'm sure that they've talked to people, their friends, things like that, but I had no clue that a new administration building was being built until I saw construction crews outside, which is what I was told by many of our residents. They did not have a clue.
Right. I like to fashion myself as fairly informed in that regard. And I, like you, one day was driving down, headed into Lima, and then there was a construction crew there. And my first question was, I wonder what they're building. Mm-hmm. And then it comes to find out it's a $1 million investment, which may be warranted. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I'm sure somebody somewhere said this is the right use of that money, and maybe it was, but it is crazy to be able to do something like that with what appears to be so little knowledge around it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just to be clear, it's not, they don't, there's no legal obligation for this information to be shared. It's just kind of a moral obligation. It's your civic duty. Is that kind of where?
Yeah, I would say, it's more of your moral obligation to, again, you're being elected by the people to do a certain job, right? Or to be the trustee, to make the decisions on the community's behalf. And as mentioned, wouldn't you think you would spending that kind of money? You still don't have a brand new fire department. There's still not construction crews over at the fire department,
Yep.
and you spend $1.2 million on another building that wasn't even approved. Yeah, you would think that you would ask.
The fire department seems to be a very hot button, no pun intended, issue here, regarding all of the people running. I believe all four of you seem to be of the frame of mind, where is our fire department? I don't know anything about it, and I will be the first to admit the fire department on my hierarchy of wants and needs is fairly low, because you don't think about the fire department until your house is on fire. In which case, then you really want the fire department. It becomes very high on your list. Pretend I know nothing about the fire department levy from 4 years ago and what has happened since. What can you tell me to catch me up on, what is your take for what has happened?
And to add to this, so I guess what I'd be curious about to this point is, have you been to the fire department? Have you been to a different fire department? Like, what do other fire departments typically have? I mean, it sounds like ours is outdated. Like, what are they experiencing over there? Mindy was really hammering into this at the town hall about just the bad living conditions and all of that. Like, what are they dealing with?
Yeah, so 4 years ago, Chief Truesdale, who's no longer with us, he passed away about a year ago.
Yeah.
But Chief Truesdale, along with our fire levy committee, worked very, very hard on getting a levy passed. And with that, the conversation was a new fire department. Now, granted, there was other things attached to that of why they needed the money, but the main tension point was a new station. Our station, and don't quote me, but I believe it was built back in 1958. And from what people tell me was that fire station was built for up to 4 people to live there. Now I believe they have anywhere between 7 firefighters on at a time to 6. But based on our size, it should be around 8 people. Again, depending on who you talk to, right? Now, granted, in the front, you have the chief's office, you have a secretary, the secretary's office, and then I believe there's another office there as well for the fire investigator, who used to be Matt Myers, again, no longer with us, great guy. But all that they do for the schools and the kids and fire education. So I believe those are the 2 offices, and then the secretary out front.
Deliver pizza too.
Yeah, Domino's.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I was lucky. I got one.
Hey, there you go.
Kid couldn't have been happier.
I love it. And then in back there, also you have, their living quarters. So you got a room where there's a bunch of recliners to where they can watch TV, and kind of relax after the day is done. They're 8 to 5, and then they get to have their relaxation time. And then they also have their living quarters, to where they sleep at night, but you're sleeping, 3 foot away from another guy or another person, and
Army style. We're very
absolutely.
familiar with Army style.
Yes. And so not a lot of area for privacy, but I guess that's why they call it a brotherhood, right? You put them in a room, throw some bunk beds, and right. We're all brothers.
You get to know each other real quick when you're 3 feet away from somebody all the time. Yes.
Yeah. So, and then outside of that, you have a basement that I haven't been down there, but I've told it's a not very, I'm not a big fan of spiders, so I can only imagine what's down in a dark, moist concrete.
We were just talking about spiders and camping
yeah,
right
yeah.
before
not
you
for
got
me.
here. Yes,
Yeah,
it's bugs are not high on anybody's
No,
list. I don't think.
So that's in the basement, and then outside in the garage area, that's where they house the trucks. And you can walk in there. A little plug. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the fire department pancake breakfast. So make
Right.
sure if you're able to attend, please come out and support it.
I'll have to edit this thing quick to get it to
But
be up till 3 a.m. getting
sorry
it out
about
there.
that. Sorry about that. I'll just share it on your Facebook.
Let's
page.
just assume it went.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
assume
we'll
it
share
went
it.
well. All right.
Yeah. So.
Delicious pancakes.
But no, they got it looks very nice out there. It's clean. The guys have done a very good job of keeping the floors clean. Not oil stains, but it looks very good. But you asked what I have seen, so I have had a tour of the station. I have went in there. I've seen the holes from the ceiling tile where they've gotten wet, and they've actually taken the tile out. I've seen the buckets just strategically placed throughout their regular sitting room to the hallway, and even in their sleeping quarters where it collects the water that is raining and it's leaking through the roof, or their air conditioning unit got backed up and nobody has come out to fix it. So it's really not good living quarters. You'll see electrical wires that you don't know what they go to, but they're just hanging out.
Good mix with water.
Yeah,
Usually,
yeah.
right?
So that station's currently and definitely not up to code.
So if you owned a house with those problems, it would be impossible for you to sell that house
Or rent
after the
it.
inspection or
Yeah,
rent it.
that's correct. I do have several rentals properties, and it's something that we pride ourselves on is what our rentals look like comparable to the neighborhood. When we buy it, we go in, we completely remodel it, we make it livable, and bring it back up, right? But I wouldn't want to live in those conditions. And these are our first responders that we're expecting to be there, day in, day out, have the proper rest. They're working overtime because they don't have enough people. They're continuing to lose good firemen or fire persons to other areas. Could you say it's because of the current leadership?
It's a possibility.
With all that's going on, I would say that is probably in the forefront of their minds. Along with that, they're also going to get paid better when they go south to Dayton, to Springfield, to Piqua. They're paying a little bit better. But, maybe overall their quality of life of not having to deal with some of the tensions involving our fire department and our trustees, it's going to help them in the long run when they do go home, and they can forget about it and leave it, right? Because that's what we want to do. When we get done with our job for the daily job, we want to leave it at home and support our family, support our kids, and be there in the community. But it's very hard when you're walking into a place where you got to spend the next 24 to 48 hours.
So along the fire department thing, obviously Chief Miller has been suspended since May, or on leave, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
If you got elected and you came into this, because obviously this information is very close to the vest, and
Sure.
rightfully so.
Sure.
How do you even go through the process to really find out what's going on? Because, from my perspective, there's a few things that should be happening. We should he either did something terrible and we needs to be let go, irresponsible, whatever it might be, or after this very long private third-party investigation, it doesn't seem like we found anything so far, or we haven't been. I don't know what do you think that process is like to kind of get up to speed so that you can make the best decision for the community? Because the longer this drags out, it just doesn't get to be a point when this is a beneficial situation,
Well, we're
Yeah.
paying him, aren't we?
We
He's
are
paid
paying
leave,
him.
right?
Yeah.
which is good.
He's been paid to sit at home, enjoy his time with his wife and his family. I've had several communication, phone calls, texts with Chief Miller. Had lunch with him. Great guy, good family man, good firefighter, and a good leader. And what's happened to him is tragic, you know. And it's not the first time that our current trustees have done this. There's a reason why Todd Truesdale retired as chief, given the time frame of when he did it. It's not because he wanted to retire. It was almost, this is your option, and so he chose it. But, you know, fast forward, they bring in Chief Miller. He's not from our community, so he had to earn the respect of the firefighters that are there. Some of them have a lot more time. Some of them have more experience. Some would say more qualified, but they hired outside and went with Chief Miller. So he had an uphill battle already of trying to gain in their respect. But, you know, one thing I can tell you is the current union for the Shawnee Township Fire Union has helped pay for some of his attorney fees because they do respect him. They want him back as a leader. If elected, I want to do everything I can to get him back. I hope we get that opportunity. I hope that opportunity isn't squandered between now and the election or even after the election come January 1. I hope whoever does get elected outside of the current incumbents, I hope they have that opportunity to get him back. Again, I've talked to him several times. I've heard the accusations against him. I don't believe it's anything that in my business, if I were to do something like that, my boss would have called me into an office and we would have worked it out. Rather than, Kenny, go home, I'm going to pay you for 7 months or 6 months, and you stay home and think about what you did wrong. You talked about the ongoing investigation. To my knowledge, the investigation was concluded back in July as far as the questions for Mr. Miller or for Chief Miller and so on and so forth, to where they've been sitting with this information for how long? I think if they would have had something really conclusive, given the current climate of that situation, they would have already came out with it. He would no longer be paid.
I would hope not, because
Correct.
we also have, and I assume, a temporary chief. Somebody is acting chief for the time being, I would assume, because
Yes.
that's how it would work in any organization.
Yes.
So, and I assume that they're probably being compensated more than what they were prior to being acting chief.
Yes.
So it would be a little infuriating as somebody whose dollars are being spent to have two chiefs.
Correct.
If you knew one of them could definitely have been fired because they committed a fireable offense.
Correct. And I think that's where it lies. I think there's speculation, or there is speculation, that they didn't find anything. So in order to save face, we're going to drag this on until after the election, to where we don't have to necessarily take accountability for the actions that we took to where we are now.
You've commented that you've had lunch with him, you've spoken with him. Would he come back? Because if my
Absolutely.
if my employer treated me that way, I'd be a little hesitant to jump back into, again, to use a firefighter pun, to jump back into the fire,
Yeah.
knowing, well, they've already done this to me once. I'd be a little hesitant to go back to them. Do you think that whatever action gets taken, either for the positive or negative against him, he would come back to work tomorrow if the trustees were like, hey, investigation closed, you're good, come on back?
After talking with him, now granted, things change every day because
Right.
of conversations that he made.
Well, I don't want you to quote him, and
But my understanding is he wants to come back. He wants to come back to Shawnee. He wants to be the leader and finish what he had started with with the men and women of the Shawnee Fire Department. And he loves the community. Granted, he doesn't live here, but he does love our community. He was making strides to make things better, to get, to leave his quote unquote legacy. Even though it was only 18 months, he was in the process of doing that. But yes, I do think he wants to come back. If the current leadership is in place in January, I don't think he will come back, even if he was asked, because of, as you said, they already want me out. Why put myself through this, my family through this? But he's hopeful that the leadership will change and that he can get back to work.
I'm sure when you step into this, there's a lot of different things that you can put the budget towards, whether it's roads, maintenance. Without any experience in this, how do you even figure out what's the number one priority here? That obviously you're listening to the people in the community, but there's got to be some experts outside of the trustees that you can rely on.
Oh, absolutely, and that's the people that they're paying to do those positions. Chief Miller is an expert at his craft, right? They hired him to do the job of a police chief and everything that encompasses that. That's the fire budget. That's his men and women that serve under him. That's the community, making sure that our trucks are ready to go. Their equipment is up to spec and ready to go. So you trust them, just like you trust Chief Colai at the police department to monitor his budget, to make sure that everything from cars to personnel to everything is ready to go. I can't go in day one and say, "Hey, I'm Kenny. I'm your new trustee. This is what we're going to do." Absolutely not. They're the experts. Just like Howard and I apologize, but Howard's name, Howard Gray, who is in charge of the road department. They're experts of their craft. They've been doing it for years. What my goal is to come in, learn from them, understand how things are going, and then recommend, hey, this is what I think we can also do, or this is what maybe we may change. Because, one things I hate to hear, and it kind of got me in trouble on the school board was, well, that's the way we've always done it. That does not resonate with me. I don't like that, because if you don't change, you're not growing. If you're not thinking, things are not happening. So, granted, 90% of what they're doing, it could be amazing. It's at 10%. Well, then let's look at that, right? I do think that we have a great community. I think we have a great township. I think there are some improvements, but overall, I would say we're pretty top notch. I think there's a lot of communities that wish they had what we had. I'm not saying that, it's terrible and things they don't change. It's going to be worse and everything like that. It's not that. I do think we have a great community. It's just that 10%. I think we can do just a little bit better.
Yep. And just being willing to make yourself uncomfortable to try those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We challenge our kids with that every day in school. Try something new. Learn something new. Why don't we do it in our adult life?
Don't be afraid to fail.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pick yourself back up, right?
Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes.
I know it took me a while to Matt and I have alluded, we have a business together. It took me a while to even just take that first step. I remember just the nerve-wracking feeling of even making that first post or just telling people that this is something that I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 2 years later. It's been a fantastic journey. I've learned a lot of things. So I couldn't agree more. A little bit more lighthearted of a question, but what's it like driving around seeing your name all over the place, all these signs?
Grateful, humble, proud that people have faith in me, have confidence, and share the vision that I have for Shawnee Township.
If there's somebody sitting out here listening to this and they don't have a sign in their yard and they would like a sign, how could they reach out and get one from you?
So yeah, you can comment on my Facebook page. Personal page is just Kenneth Gross, or you can comment on my Kenneth Gross for Shawnee Township Trustee Facebook page. But yeah, we'd love to get another sign out to you. If you want me to stop by, if you want to ask questions, you can leave me a message on those two pages. Be happy to meet with you, talk with you, and understand a little bit more of my vision than what we're talking about here.
Okay.
While we're talking about businesses, I have a question about one of the ways in which the township brings in money is through property taxes, and new businesses account for a lot of that because they usually take up more area, they have more valuable property. How would you go about, as a salesman, bringing new business into Shawnee? Because I think that is an avenue in which we may be missing out, because we hear about new businesses coming in, but they get tax abatements. They're not paying as high of a tax rate as some of the residential properties. How do we get more businesses to come and invest in Shawnee?
So I think we have to start with, you have to go to the county, to their economic growth team, and they help you on, trying to get, people to look at your area, Wawa, a couple of the other things that are out there. Kenilworth was a great thing, since we lost Lima Harley Davidson, to find a place or find something to go into that building. I mean, it's, 25 years old, maybe 30 years old, but it's a great looking building. The Joyce family took very good care of that and always making it look nice. So, to have something else sit there and not just a big for sale sign when you drive by. But, getting with the economic growth here in Allen County, and working with them to see what more we can bring. We have 2 business parks that we can help with. The land is there, come as you may. I know people don't like tax abatements. That's always not great. But when you're, as a salesperson, it's my product or the competitor product, you have to make yourself enticing. And sometimes that's the only way that they can get those is through tax abatements. Now, should it be 100%, for the next 10, 15 years? I don't think so. Can it be a little bit? But also they have to understand they have to support our area. But just like most, when you bring, new jobs, new businesses in, or new commerce, it also brings jobs. So hopefully, also we can, put a little thing, hey, try to hire from, Shawnee Township first, and then hire out of our township. But, understanding that hopefully they're supporting our residents first.
I've been instructed to ask you, how would you get a Chick-fil-A into Shawnee? Because my kids are dying for one. So how do we bring Chick-fil-A to Shawnee Township?
I would love Chick-fil-A. I would like Culver's.
Culver's is underrated.
Yeah.
The cheese curds are.
Yeah.
That'd be a problem if Culver's was here.
Yeah. I think one of the issues specifically with Chick-fil-A would be, I don't know how close they can put another one in our close proximity. I know we have one in Findlay, and I don't know where the closest one south to us is.
Probably Troy.
Yeah, I
Probably
think Troy. Yep.
But I mean, we're right there in that area, right? But Shawnee Township, I don't know if we'd be able to have that area that would entice them, so to speak, to put in a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I don't think so. 15,000 people is probably too small for them.
Kids
are going to be
But
very disappointed.
They will be disappointed when they listen to this.
Right. But, I do think, though, we can bring some more commerce. We can bring some jobs to our area. We still have a lot of property when you're getting off of Brees Road right there at Dixie. Granted, the Wawas go on there. Everybody's excited for that, or at least some people are. But, there's still a lot of land out there to be developed, right? So I think just trying to find more development for that area. You guys remember when, it wasn't there when I was a kid, but my parents would tell me, right there at the corner of Dixie Highway and Brees Road used to be a drive-in theater. and now that just is still an empty lot right next to the pizza station.
There was a drive-in theater on
That
Breeze
was
Road.
a drive-in theater. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then, you still got the old school skating rink down the corner or down the way, but it's falling in, right? Right across the street there at Dixie was a gas station,
Yep.
but it's been underdeveloped, right? So how do we bring people in to utilize these areas to when you are coming off the interstate? That's not the first thing that you're hit with, because that is not a representation of Shawnee Township, right?
Yeah.
You have to go further into it, to the heart of it, and that's where you see a lot of that. But again, I think it's critical that we try to develop that area. I know Eversole Pool has done a great job on that building, making that look a lot nicer than what it was. It was just an empty building.
Yeah.
So I even Corey Lang with the Tourist, the Tourist Hotel, she's been doing a great job with cleaning that up and making it look nice for those that are, the professional travelers that are coming in and sitting in their area. Even the trailer park behind Ace Value, they've made that a little bit nicer, right? And let's not forget Ace Value right there, right? The old bargain center.
Yeah.
It's
Bargain
still
bar.
there, where you don't want to go to Lowe's, but we still have it here in Shawnee. And as you said, a town of 15,000 people, we still got a hardware store, right?
Right.
I just think if we, develop that area, it'll be much better for our community.
During the town hall, you forward asked a lot of questions, and I almost thought about making a little chart and just filling in, like, what are the differences here? Because, the question be asked, and all four of you would pretty much say the same thing across the board. When people go to the voting booth, what separates you? Why should they fill in that bubble next to Kenny Gross as opposed to the other 5 people that are going to be listed there?
For the 4 people that attended the town hall, myself included in that. So talking about Chad, talking about Paul, talking about Mindy. I think we're all we're all 4 great candidates for the position. I know what I can do. I know what I want to do. I'm not saying that they don't or they can't. But you get integrity, you get accountability, you get someone who listens, someone who genuinely cares, and someone who will fight for what is right? It's not a Beastie Boys song. But, I want to do the right thing. I want to make Shawnee better. I want to be part of something to be proud of. So again, I can't say that sets myself apart from them, because I'm sure they want the same thing. I just know what you get with me. And I truly hope that the Shawnee community believes enough in one of the 4 of us, or 2 of the 4, I should say, believes enough in the 2 of the 4 of us that we can make a change in our current leadership.
The one thing I'll say, no matter what, that makes me feel good about the community and where it's at is there's a lot of people that are very passionate about this, and they're paying attention to this. They're paying attention to the issues that are going on, and whether you support the current administration or you want to see some different people step in and take the reins, I'm just glad that people are paying attention, and that's really the whole purpose of this, because it's one thing for you to answer some questions, but to get to know who you are, I have a better sense of who you are just by having this conversation, and you're obviously willing to do that with community members. You're willing to do that through your Facebook page. You got a website as well. Any other ways that people can get a hold of you?
See me in the community. Say hi.
Okay.
Tell me what's going on, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay.
He's probably at a soccer field.
Yes. Yeah.
Most nights.
Yeah. Most
He
nights
can be found at a soccer field.
I'm there on Zermely Road at the soccer complex or baseball complex, whichever one you want to talk about it. I'm usually there. On the weekends, it's between here and Dayton, depends on where we got the game. But no, I'm at soccer games for high school. We don't even have a son in soccer at the high school level or daughter at that level. Football fields on Friday night. The gymnasium at the high school for Fridays. Come this December.
Be exciting.
Looking forward to that. But no, we're ingrained in our community. So when you see me out there, please stop by, say hey. If I'm elected, if you're thinking I'm doing a great job, please come by and say hey. I'm not doing a great job. Come by and tell me what we can do to fix.
Now, those people will tell you no problem.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have to ask those people to tell you.
Yeah.
But give you a chance to take action on it.
Yeah,
make
absolutely.
improvement.
Absolutely. I
Ears
may
are
not have
open.
the answer, as we said at the beginning. I may not have the answer for you right then, but we're going to try to figure it out.
Okay. Well, Kenny, I really appreciate you coming in here, taking the time to speak with us. Is there anything else before we wrap this up you want to make sure that maybe we didn't cover during this conversation? You think it's important?
No, just make sure your vote counts. You may not think it does. You may think it's just it's not a presidential election. There's no real pressing issues that are affecting our country, but it definitely is affecting our township. So please, please, please get out and vote. It doesn't have to be me, but please do your civic duty. Get out and vote, and we'll find out more on November 4th at about 7 o'clock.
There are 3 things on the ballot that greatly affect residents of
absolutely.
Shawnee.
Yeah.
Be it tax value, property value, trustee representative. There are 3 very important things that you could argue are more day-to-day important in this election than on a presidential election.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because as you said, it affects us here and now. Others may not think it is, but it's affecting Shawnee
And
Township.
there's a school board member on the ballot, I think running unopposed, but that is also another. If you have a kid school aged, that's a 4th thing in which is affecting you or your family very directly.
Yeah. And one thing too that, thank you for bringing that up, and sorry to get into the school board part of it since I'm only here for the trustee part.
No,
it's okay.
Get into it.
You're here for the
I
community.
want to talk about the school.
It definitely reflects our community as a whole. There's 3 spots up currently for our school board. The only one who is on the ballot is Marlena Schaff. She's a current school board member. So that means that there will be 2 seats that need to be appointed by the current board members and or the updated seated members. So Mr. Gephardt, he's up for election this year. My understanding is there were some issues with the paperwork, so that wasn't completed properly. Again, I've filled out those papers. They're tough. I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't get it right, you're not on the ballot. So I can understand how, just a date wrong or something like that can throw things off. So, so that's 1 seat, and then my understanding is Mr. Balliot, who served our community for years, also sits on the trustees board for the attorney for the Shawnee Township, but he's no longer running for re-election. So there'll be at least 2 seats that the board will need to appoint. I strongly recommend anyone, or everyone, I should say, to attend the school board meetings. They directly affect our community, our children, and it's good to hear their intentions and what they look for, their vision for our students. And 2 votes on a board mean a lot. It really does.
And pardon me for my ignorance. So when you're saying that they need to appoint them, does that mean that there just wasn't anyone who raised their hand that said they wanted to run, or is this just a natural part of this selection?
So Mr. Gephardt filled out his paperwork. The Board of Elections, they didn't approve it.
Okay.
They rejected it. So he was not able to be on the ballot. There was another person who within the community who also filled out the paperwork. That got rejected. So people stood up, raised their hand to do it. Their paperwork was incorrect. So that's where they have to be appointed. They'll be appointed by the board to be seated.
Does someone need to volunteer to be? How do they go through appointing? I mean,
You would contact the.
It seems
the
like John's asking because he wants to.
Yeah, absolutely. You contact the superintendent's office. You talk to Mr.
fascinating.
Diglia. You send in, your letter of why you would want to do it. They hold interviews, and then it's ultimately up to the board on who they select to appoint for that position. The reason why I know so much about it, I was appointed as a school board member. The sitting member of the board at that time got elected to the state school board. So I was one of, I think, one of 7 or one of 8 people who tried out for it, interviewed. And, it's not hearsay because it was told to me by a person, but the reason why they asked me to be on it was because I didn't come with an agenda. My agenda was, as I said earlier, for the students. It's for our community. It's not because I'm upset at why we're doing this or why we're doing that. My focus was on the students at that time. And not to go back, but, my focus is on the community.
well, when my parents moved here, I posted this at some point, but they specifically were looking at all the different schools in this area. My dad got a job at Scott Ladd, Roundy's, Nashville, whatever it's called now. But they specifically went out of their way to look, and they said Shawnee had hands down the best academics. That was the best place for their children to be. So that's why we landed in Shawnee, and that's why we've brought our families back to Shawnee, because we really believe in the school board. So thank you for that extra information. I didn't know we got some Friday night lights tonight. I know this is probably going to be coming out Saturday or Sunday, so by then we're celebrating a Kenton win. We beat Kenton, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
John will have filled out all of his school board paperwork.
it's going to get
Sunday.
rejected anyway. So
Yeah. But no, the football team has had a great year, a very surprising year. So no, it's been a long time since I think they beat Kenton. So to bring them here and beat them on the gridiron will be awesome.
yeah, let's hope we see that tonight.
And then we got the Buckeyes tomorrow. So yeah.
We do have the Buckeyes tomorrow, and no matter what, we can always fall back
Don't forget about the Browns
on
on
the Buckeyes.
Sunday.
Yeah. Well, hey, the Bengals already took care of business last
right.
night. They beat up on the Steelers. Joe Flacco. If you would have said, okay, let's go back 10 years, and you would say that Aaron Rodgers would be starting quarterback for the Steelers. Joe Flacco will be for the Bengals.
What were they calling it? The Icy Hot Bowl.
Yeah,
And-
the
yeah.
AARP Bowl.
The Icy Hot Bowl last night.
It's just and to see Flacco take off running in the fourth quarter for a first down and not get touched, I'm like, the dude's 41. You guys are like 24.
We're
what?
touching a real. We got a Browns fan over here. All right.
2 of them.
Flacco looked like he needed to be in a wheelchair 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And somehow he's quarterback scrambler extraordinaire when he gets a Bengals jersey on. It's a little infuriating.
Well, that too, but okay, so thinking you're Flacco, right? So you're going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals where they literally put their quarterback in a wheelchair. You're 41, and you're going to say they have no offensive line. They've had the most sacks by any team allowed
I'm
by their
scared
offensive
for 'em.
line. Yeah, sign me up to finish out my contract. But
hey, when you love the game, you
when you
love the
love the
game.
game,
He had
you
to
love the
update
game.
that will before the Packers game that first week. I was
Yeah.
scared for him, but
Yeah.
good for him.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, thank you so much for allowing me to come on. This was great. Hopefully, once elected, we can do this again. Let me get my feet wet. Let me get in, see how things are going. But no, I really appreciate the
Anytime.
opportunity.
You're welcome back anytime.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Kenny. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.